Welcome to the Deep Dive Show. I am your host, Brad Assaraf, and I'm the ghost of Sevon Podcast Past. I will flash before you things once said, ideas espoused on this show, and we're going to take a closer look with the person who said them, ideally. Ladies and gentlemen, I remember 2 days in my life as possibly the best days of my life. One of them was the day I married my beloved wife, and the other was the summer of 2022. I dropped into CrossFit Crash in South Carolina, and I was finishing my workout, and I paid, probably via Venmo, JR Howell, who's on the screen right now, and he said, I get a shirt for that payment for dropping in. And as he's asking me what shirt size, I say large, and he goes, I think I'm going to go grab a medium. And he walks off, grabs a medium, comes back, it doesn't fit. And so he goes, I will go grab a large. And as he's walking away, he says, and I quote, "You got a big chest." And I blacked out. My soul left my body and came just in time to receive the shirt from JR, to shake his hand and say thank you. Best day of my life. JR, for real, thank you for coming on and discussing athleticism with me today.
You're welcome. And to speak on that illusion there, the shirt that Brad has on, it touches me in a very special place because it's when, for some reason, I thought that logos didn't need to be bigger. And I remember that shirt specifically because when I would see it around after we had some more shirts made, I was like, why did I make the logo so small? I think that maybe just came with the confidence and the kind of no, we want that brand to be kind of in your face a little bit more and bigger and strong and bold, but like that's an OG shirt. So when I came on pre-show and saw it, a small tear ran down my
Beautiful. This shirt too, there have been a couple times I've almost worn it. I don't know if you get this a lot on travel days, like on airplanes, and I decide otherwise. Like I flash forward in my head, I'm like, I feel like people are going to be uneasy by the shirt. Is that like a common thing? Have you gotten that before about?
Well, the idea behind just being Crash and not putting CrossFit on everything was a little bit of like, hey, when people say what gym you go to, a lot of them will just say, oh yeah, I go to Crash, or yeah, I go to Crash, because it's just easier to say. Like the alliteration is nice, and that's why I picked CrossFit Crash. It just flows. But at the same time, I kind of wanted people to be out in public and just see Crash and someone to have to come up to you and say, hey, what does your shirt mean? Oh, well, it's actually the gym I go to. So it was almost kind of a talking point as well. But yeah, I think there are some times and places where you can have it on and give people some mixed signals if you're not careful. An airplane is one of them. Yeah.
Right. It is. It's one of the best gym names probably that I've still come across. Well, let me set the stage for today's conversation. So, as many people in the CrossFit space have been aware, in the last month, John Wellborn, once the head guy of CrossFit football, made another splash in the CrossFit community, right? And he said, Greg Glassman fooled me. It was the greatest, whatever, trick anybody played on me, that I mistook capacity for athleticism. So that's gotten a lot of conversation stirring about CrossFit and athleticism. That's where I want to go today is conversation between CrossFit, or the relationship between CrossFit and athleticism. Now, why do I have JR on the show? 2 or 3 reasons. One, JR has a basketball background. And basketball and football, in my head, are the 2 sports that probably prize this idea of athleticism more than any other. Being explosive, quick cuts, those kinds of things. And when you are on you're in the ether of Instagram and you find all these crazy training protocols for athleticism, it's usually like a basketball or football guy. Second one, I know JR comments on certain programs or movements or workouts, and I've heard him call them athletic before. In fact, a couple weeks ago on the Crash story, you all were doing tall box jumps and you said athletes only. And I was like, ooh, okay, here we go. So tall box jumps, but we'll get there. That'll factor into the conversation. The last one is maybe a little, I don't know, not more obscure. It was during the dual event this past year at Rogue. People were snapping Achilles. And come on the show after and Taylor's fired up and people are like, should we ever do this movement? And you had an interesting take where you said, if you did not grow up in a sport where you are getting like a million contractions from age 0 to 20, basketball, tennis, whatever, something like that, and then you jump into a setting where you're doing repetitive box jumps or something like that, you're more prone to injury because you haven't trained, and maybe I'm getting that wrong, but you haven't trained that fast twitch, you haven't trained that muscle contraction, something like that. And I thought that was interesting. And that conversation rubs me the wrong way because I really don't want to be like, CrossFit's like, we talked about being like the Harley Davidson, like we can do anything. We squat below parallel. So I don't want there to be a movement or a style of movement that's like, no, CrossFitters can't do that. That's dangerous. And your take felt a little more like it's a load management issue. Like, yeah, people go from 0 to 100, and of course they're going to get injured, but it's not the contraction itself. Now, maybe I'm getting that wrong, or maybe you want to correct it, but those are the reasons.
Maybe I was just speaking emotionally. Going back to that point, because I remember the conversation. I remember how bad I felt for the athletes in question who had been injured, and looking at it and knowing, hey, this is a sport. They're racing. They're trying to race. They're trying to win. They'll do whatever they can to do that. They're like any athlete in any sport will tell you that if you're thinking about injury, that's usually when you do get injured. It's when you're just being free, where it usually doesn't happen. Interestingly enough about that take, which I do agree with, I'm going to argue with myself a little and say, if you're someone that did those thousands and thousands, you're either more prone to it happening eventually, or you are on the other end and you're so resilient, and those tendons and all that stuff they're so trained that you would be one of the last people for it to happen to. So like I look at, like, I don't know Heinrich's background athletically. If someone knows, tell me. But looking at someone like Danielle, who kind of showed, hey guys, if you want to win, this is what you're going to have to do. Like, she's a pole vaulter. Think about how many times she bounded over and landed as specifically hard, right? In different ways, sprinting, running, jumping, tumbling, all that kind of stuff. She would be the last person who I would think would ever injure themselves on a movement like that. And not ironically, she's what I would say the most athletic female in CrossFit, in my opinion. We'll get into what that means, because I think with ball sports, or what a lot of people would think in growing up with American sports, what we consider an athlete to be, and more so what we think of as athleticism, is a little bit different maybe than what I would say denotes a really athletic CrossFitter. Very different. So,
wow, yeah, that's right on target. So I actually should rein us back for a second. Let's define athleticism not as we've established exactly what athleticism is, but what do people mean when they say athleticism? What's the pop definition of athleticism?
Yeah, this is not going to help out your question at all, but I was thinking about this today, and the thing that kept coming to my head is, you don't know what it is, but when you see it, you know it. Like, it's one of those odd concepts of, hey, watch this person do this thing. You've never seen CrossFit before, and you have them snatch, and watch this person do it. And you watch both people do it, and you go, oh, that looked really nice. That's probably the way it's supposed to look. What is a snatch again? I don't even know what it is. But when you know it, when you see it, there's no doubt that you know what it means. I mean, Sevon has talked about before, I think, being at HQ and watching Tia and another really, really, really high level CrossFit female doing like bar facing burpees, and saying Tia just moved like water. It was just strange. It was just like, it was this rhythm and this cadence that you can't really teach. It wasn't herky jerky. She was moving fast, but it also looked like she was moving in slow motion at the same time. Like, I think about that because there is something about that notion of when you see a natural, and I think you can insert athlete into what a natural would be. Like, you see someone, you're like, oh man, they're just a natural. Like, first time they jumped up on the rings, they could do a muscle up. First time you showed them what a snatch was, they did it perfectly. By definition, for me, before I walked into a CrossFit gym, I would say bigger, stronger, faster. So that's what I think of. I think the bigger they are, and with that, the faster they can move and the stronger they are, the more athletic they become. Because usually that will check all the boxes. Let's just take a basketball player. So let's take like a really good athlete, but maybe not a LeBron, right? And you take that person, you're like, oh, so Tyreek Evans is quick. He can jump. He's pretty tall. He's pretty muscular. But LeBron is taller, more muscular, can jump higher, is faster, is quicker. So it's when I think of athletes in that respect, sure, I think lateral quickness, I think lateral movement, I think not just straight line. But in general, I think they're bigger, stronger, and faster. And that's in all planes and all directions and all that kind of stuff. So that would probably be the most simple definition. I take for granted the coordination part of it, because when you see athletes, they're already coordinated. You don't see a professional athlete and think, well, they're not that coordinated. But then in CrossFit, you can be exposed to something that shows, oh, like they're not able to do the monkey bars because it looks like their hand-eye coordination is not very good. Like it looks like rhythmically they don't know how to time the movement of their lower body and upper body. So we get into those ball playing sports a little bit more when we see behind the scenes videos and we see people throw a football or catch a football or run a route. And it's like, oh, that person looks like they've never done anything like that before. Or you see someone else do it and you say, did you play football? And they're like, no, I've never played football. And you're like, oh, well, that explains it because you're an athlete. It's an odd concept, but when you know it, you see it is probably the easiest way I can describe it.
Okay, so what do you think about like lists of qualities or lists of tests? So qualities would be like, quick change of direction, separation of the hips and shoulders, acceleration, deceleration, or you could say like a list of movements or tests. So vertical jump, 40-yard dash, power clean, that kind of thing. You took kind of a big picture approach. You're like bigger, faster, stronger, quicker, faster, stronger. I can't remember those three, but do you think you can boil it down to a list of qualities or tests?
For a CrossFitter?
No, and for the pop definition of an athlete, is it the NFL Combine?
It's interesting you say that. Me and Tyler Watkins, we're talking about doing a crash combine where we invite, I don't know, what people would think of are the best 5 to 10 CrossFitters. And we put them through a combine that, sure, maybe there's some carryover. Maybe we do like a standing broad jump as one of them. Maybe we do a bench press test, but maybe we do it as a push press test. Like we do how many push press at 185 can you do unbroken instead of how many bench press at 225. But we thought about a lot of those things. Would you do like 3 minutes of rope climbs, or would you do a certain amount of unbroken wall balls, or would you do, but then, we get into this, is that fitness or is that athleticism? Instead, would you do something like, hey, I'm going to show you all this agility ladder, and it's going to be 100-foot agility ladder. If you mess up at any point, you're out. And then if you didn't mess up and you had a clean run, whoever made it the 100 feet the fastest wins. So it is more what we think of as traditional athleticism, footwork, coordination, all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of all over the place because it's a really cool topic, I think, to talk about. And like, I think Rich is the most pure athlete that I've ever seen do CrossFit. It's not also a coincidence that he plays hockey. He grew up playing baseball. He plays flag football. He's been a big proponent of, if I had someone that wanted to be great at CrossFit, I would tell them not to do CrossFit all the time. I would tell them to play as many sports as they can and do CrossFit 2 or 3 days a week, because the crossover and adaptability that you get, from those things, like when you watch Danielle Brandon do a burpee box get over, you can tell that no one has ever showed her how to do that. She just did it because she could relate it to other things that she has done athletically before.
Mhm.
But I think that crash combine idea, or just a combine in general, it wouldn't have to be a crash, would be something really cool and fun, because we wouldn't have to spill over into the, okay, we're going to do something for 20 minutes. Like, nah, everything would probably be 2 minutes or less. And it would just be, we could say, hey, we're going to crown the most athletic CrossFitter just by the 10 stations that we think defines athleticism in our space. But it would be cool to do, because it would be an easy watch and you could see people do some freakish things, and that's what everyone wants to see. They want to see freaks do freakish things.
Yeah, it's like Sevan spent 5 minutes on his show this morning pulling up gi videos because he's so fun to watch. He's so explosive. That's what you mean, I think, when you're like, when you see it, it's like you look at gi, you're just like, he moves different. And so that's the next. Sevan's critiqued athleticism and chasing athleticism because he says you can't measure it. And by that, I think he is referring to what you're referring to, and what I'm going to kind of put the label on it, that it's aesthetic. So, but on the other hand, I think sometimes we view certain movements as more athletic than other movements.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to find the balance between that. So do you see what I'm saying? Does athleticism inhere, does it reside in, does it belong to certain movements more than others? Or is it any movement, it's the way you do it? You already referred to Tia with the burpees, or even like running. See Annie Thorisdottir run like a monster, and it doesn't look as athletic as Tia, who just looks like a savage running. So do you understand the question?
Yeah. Like if I could think of 3 movements just off the top of my head that to me would showcase athleticism in CrossFit, it would be a full snatch. It would be a burpee over something, over an object that, let's just say you either have to jump what most people would consider a really high height to get over, 36 inches, 42 inches, whatever, or that you could use your upper body to surmount and get on the other side of. And then it would be a non-straight line run. So maybe a zigzag run, but I would say more of like what a traditional suicide would be. So let's just say you took a 40-yard stretch of turf and you said, I want you to go 10 back, 20 back, 30 back, 40 back. So you had to accelerate, you had to stop and change direction, but then also it's not the same stride length every single time. It's getting longer and longer every time. So you do have some lateral movement there with the burpee kind of getting over something back and forth. You have the straight line speed, but also the change in direction. So you have a quickness element to it. And then you also have, I think, inarguably the most athletic weightlifting movement in CrossFit. Could you argue maybe a dumbbell squat snatch would be better? Sure, because it's more unilateral and stuff. But I think still watching someone who's really, really proficient at the snatch is one of the prettiest things you can watch. Really cool. Yeah. And it's something that a lot of people can relate to, in that there's no way I could ever do that. If you see someone run fast, you're like, well, I could go do that. It would just take me a longer time. Or if you see someone fall down and get up and get over something, you're like, well, I could do that too. It would just be a lot slower. But there's something about seeing a bar with a ton of plates on it for the average person and saying, I can't even fathom how they're getting their body around that weight.
Well, I think that's a weird one. Olympic weightlifting is so athletic. People who are so obsessed with a ball sport definition of athleticism, still, I don't think they can see that or recognize it. And that's where I think there's always going to be a discrepancy between, you have these top CrossFitters who are, even the ones who aren't athletic by looks are still very athletic by an average kind of definition. Or you have the ones like Guy or Hopper or Tia who are just so athletic. But even still, they're not going to be recognized necessarily in their sport as athletic by the college football player, unless they see the video of Hopper, his highlight reel, where he's really doing a ball sport.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, though. So like, I would love if they brought back kind of like a zigzag sprint. I mean, it's been a long time since they've done that. I think since the 2019 cuts, the year of all the national champions, when I think Brooke stepped on the line or so-and-so stepped on the line. And so it's been that long since we've had like one of those where with some change in direction and zigzag type thing. because Jason's never gotten a chance to do anything like that. And I
Right.
think that would it would be a Guy moment, like, oh, that's your element. So we really haven't seen like you be able to express that kind of athleticism before. I think it would be really cool.
What about this right here? This was
Yeah,
so impressive to me.
Yeah.
The dual 2022 or 2023, still not a ball, but like he dominated that event in a way that we've only seen.
Not only is he really explosive and moves out objects well, because like so does Brent, but when he goes under the last one and there's that like maybe 10 to 20 yards of a true sprint before he has to throttle down, the difference. And I remember watching videos of Brent like learning how to sprint, like getting a running coach and learning how to manufacture a faster sprint.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's not something Jason's ever had to think about, which is what we are talking about. Nah, he doesn't have to, because athletes don't have to do that. They just do it. And what's an interesting juxtaposition is Jason is one of those people, though, as athletic as he is at physical things, the neurological athleticism of like gymnastics and just figuring something out in space, he's on the other end of the spectrum, which is really interesting. Like, for some reason, just doing the bar pullover that year just gave him problems at the games, and like just couldn't really figure it out. There was something about it, but yet you could show him, hey, there's this field right here. I want you to go over that, under that, around that, and you have to do it on the fly, but we're going to let everyone else practice it, and you would probably still win. Like, it's just a different kind of adaptation.
Is it a problem that somebody can be at the top of the CrossFit game and look unathletic, not be able to throw a ball well, not look sharp running? Is that a problem? Is that a problem with the methodology, or is it a problem with their specific training? Are they not incorporating certain plyometrics, sprinting?
I actually think that gets into our own personal definitions of athleticism again. And is the fact that I was given a wiffle ball at 3 years old, and my dad said, okay, throw it with this hand. Okay, now throw it with this hand. Okay, from now on, throw it with your right hand, and we're going to do it every day. Or here's a little Tykes basketball goal. This is how you need to hold the basketball, and this is how you follow through. And when you're watching TV at night, you're going to do that for an hour. Is that anything to do with athleticism or just nature, nurture? No, it's just because I grew up throwing a ball or shooting a ball for like 15 years before I even started CrossFit. So the reason why people from other parts of the world that don't play baseball, the reason why they look so bad doing it is just because they haven't had that exposure. It has nothing to do with your athleticism. It just has to do with your experience. Likewise, we see people in the water and we're like, oh, Europeans kind of grow up in a pool, or Australians grow up in the ocean, and all these people in the United States look like they can't swim. It's just because they didn't grow up doing those things. So a lot of times people want to compare how athletic Rich is and was, and they want to compare him to Matt. But if you watch those videos of Matt like tumbling and doing those competitive skiing competitions, that's really, really, really athletic. It's just not the same as swinging a golf club.
Right.
So again, I think it's just easy to to use what you can see to support your own argument based on what your argument is.
Right.
So
all the moments, all the CrossFit media moments that have come up, I'm like a like top 10 most and least athletic moments from CrossFit Games athlete. It has to be a show soon, because there are so many in my head where
that'd be an awesome one. Yeah.
where I want to go in on people where it's like, you are the second best in the world and you look like trash swinging the bat or whatever.
It's hard to find things within CrossFit that you can say are athletically limited without there being a fitness component. I think that's the issue, is that we're testing fitness. So the chances of you finding something that isn't fitness limiting, it's athleticism limiting in a fitness test, is kind of like good luck. Like it's probably going to be hard. I mean, we can get into who had exposure early and who didn't, but yeah, hey, take this jump rope, jump, cross it twice, figure it out. Like, yeah, maybe, but then like who was in jump rope club when they were in 4th grade? I don't know. Like maybe Nick Matthew was, maybe he had never tried it before. I don't know, but we know that he figured it out. So, it's again, it's such a fine line to me between athleticism, skill, gimmicky, not gimmicky, all that kind of stuff.
Maybe Nick Matthew was inspired by the Disney Channel original movie Jump In, featuring Corbin Bleu. I was. What about? Oh, where was I going? Oh, well, no. Okay, so let's dial back. Last thing, how can somebody, say you have somebody who's really concerned about being explosive and athletic traditionally, and you're okay to compromise their CrossFit training program? What tweaks would you make? What bones would you throw them to get that fast twitch, jumpy, explosive training in? Are there tweaks that people can make in their regular CrossFit training that'll just kind of check those boxes?
Yeah, it's not, trust me, it has nothing to do with my personal ability, because by all accounts, I was like one of the least athletic basketball players on the court at all times, I'm sure. But just simply jumping in different ways other than a jump rope in place, I think would be great. One of my favorite .com workouts I think that I ever saw from way back in the day was like measure an object 1 foot over your reach and jump and touch it with 2 hands 100 times for time. It's akin to doing rim touches in basketball. You want to just simply get better at jumping, do rim touches over and over and over again. But how often do you see CrossFitters jumping to touch something high? They're either jumping onto something, over something, or they're jumping in place. But they're not doing a lot of explosive jumping. And yeah, do people do a lot of primers where they do like a seated box jump? Yes, absolutely. They do that kind of thing. But I'm talking about like jumping repetitively in an effort that's like what me and you would consider a Metcon effort. But it's like, why am I still doing this? Well, it's like, dude, you jump 3 times, then after that, you don't even you know what you're doing.
Right.
Like it's not a, hey, you can cycle that 75-pound barbell for 75 reps and it looks the same. Why can't you jump and touch this target 75 times straight and it look the same? Like, don't you think you should be able to do both? So it's a form of gymnastics, right? Moving your body through space. But so I think just simply jumping in different ways would help a lot of people. And dude, I think that old school things like agility ladders and cone drills, there's so much carryover with stuff like that. Hopping on 1 foot back and forth, dot drills where you take 4 dots in a diamond and you're like, okay, right foot only, go around. Okay, now reverse. Okay, now crossover. Okay, now do it with the left. Chances are people can do it with one leg, but not the other. And you're still bounding, right? You're still getting stronger ankles in your calves and your soleus, but you're also making your brain do something that it's not just hopping on 2 feet this high off the ground to where a jump rope can pass underneath it. It's just complete. Yeah. So jumping, agility ladders, dot drills, I think all that kind of stuff would do so much wonders, especially for the games athletes that when they do have to change directions fast and when they do have to think fast, like their brain just kind of adapts faster.
Which all those things can be added so easily to like a warm up. And people talk about that. I feel like that's circulating. It's like if the fastest thing you're doing in the CrossFit gym is your 70% back squat or something like that, and you're wondering why you're not getting faster or you move slow, are you incorporating any sort of sprint or jump? And those things, if you like go in, you warm up on the bike, you do some of those jump sprint drills, and then you get into your Olympic lifting and your raw strength, I just think it's magic. I also think it's so much fun. Like I've had as a warm up, before I coach CrossFit. Hey guys, hey everybody who's Heidi, who's begging to know who I am. I'm a level 2 coach. And at my CrossFit gym, one way we'll warm up is take 5 minutes to establish your highest like approach jump, where like you put a PVC pipe and we're just going up and up and up, and see if you can run up and get over it. And people have so much fun with that because they haven't, kind of like Sevon talks about, like, when was the last time I sprinted as fast as I could? People haven't jumped as high as they could or over something where there's really no disadvantage to falling or to knocking it in years and years and years, since 5th grade PE. So it's so much fun, and it's just a great way to get warmed up.
Yeah, our frontal cortex or whatever gets developed, and then fear just becomes a limiter for us. Like up until a certain age, there's a reason why like even teenagers do stupid stuff, because they don't have it developed in their mind that they could die when they do things, right? So, and that like reckless abandon, a lot of people, it leaves really early. And I tell gym owners all the time, like, hey, what are some of the things that you would invest in that your athletes would get out of? And I am like really on board with some soft plyo boxes. Like they don't have to be rogue, but there are so many, like you're talking about bringing it full circle to that video. And I posted athletes only. There are so many males and females that would never attempt a 30-inch, a 32-inch, a 36-inch box jump for the sole purpose of they know how bad it's going to hurt if they miss. But just having a few foam box setups, like people get pumped when they jump on big thing, like tall things. Like it feels really athletic and cool if you can jump on something high and get off of it. It just does. And it means that you don't have to do a million reps, because the effort it takes, like doing a 185 thruster versus a 95 thruster, you don't have to do that many 185 thrusters to get a good workout out of it. It's the same kind of deal with a box jump program. So yeah, that's something that jumping in general, I think, is just a way to create that second and third wave adaptation. I think Boz did a video where he talked about the up and over workout, where he was talking about jumping, and he was like, hey, you can deadlift and deadlift and deadlift and deadlift, but at some point, just deadlifting probably won't make your deadlift go up, but holding a L-sit for a minute might. So you can power clean and power clean and power clean and power clean. Maybe you should try jumping explosively onto a tall box, and your power clean will go up. So it's just, one of those things.
Well, this could go on for a long time. Thank you for all the ideas and just diving into this discussion. Yeah, it was fun. More athleticism conversations and episodes in the future, hopefully.
We need it. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am indeed Joaquin Phoenix's cousin, and I need you to start thinking and saying, we say this when we look at the vast ocean. We say it when we look at the Grand Canyon, and I want you to start saying it when we look at the Sevon podcast archives. How deep